Finally, we're here for the goatee of all goaties, the one you've all been waiting for, the Team of the Year award. Let's face it, 2020 was a disaster, a year full of adversity, injuries, and in sports, it was asterisk city. But we also saw some special performances, breakout players, and teams overcoming some amazingly historic odds and showing the spirit of a true team in the truest sense of the word. So here are our nominations. Your Denver Nuggets for coming back down 3-1 twice and making only their fourth trip to the Western Conference Finals in franchise history, or your Colorado Avalanche with a 92-point season, making it to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
All right, the only one here where we only have just a couple nominees because, of course, the Broncos and the Rockies didn't exactly do anything to deserve to be nominated. CSU football only played 4 games, and the Buffs, well, they were close. They were close, but it does come. What do you mean? They were close to a nomination.
Oh, okay. All right.
Close to a nomination, yes.
I'm not going to give them any love for the hoops program that would have made the tourney last year.
Well, they lost like 5 games in a row at the end. It's just, if the Buffs had won their bowl game, I really would have fought for them to be nominated here. But in the end, we knew it comes down to these two, and it's the Avs and the Nuggets. So, AJ, I'll start with you. Just talk a little bit about this Avs season and this team.
I mean, it was kind of a coronation of sorts. They'd been on the rise for a couple of years, and then they'd snuck into the postseason as the last seed in the last week of the season the previous 2 years. And then last year, when the regular season paused, they were 2 points behind St. Louis with a game in hand. And despite all of the injury issues, they played their last game. Without Nathan McKinnon, Nazem Kadri, Gabe Landeskog, and all these guys are hurt, right? No Philip Grubauer, just tons of injuries, and they were still 2 points back with 1 game in hand and a head-to-head matchup with the Blues left. So they had every opportunity to win the division had the season not been paused, and it was big expectations. And then they go into the postseason and they get the second seed in the round robin because they lost a shootout to Vegas and destroyed Arizona in round 1. Absolutely waxed the Coyotes, who clearly didn't belong. And then injuries again kind of set them back. And, when you roll out your third goaltender, despite being down 3-1 in the series, they came back and almost won Game 7 on their third string goaltender against a Dallas Stars team that played significantly over their heads.
Yeah, and I think this year as a whole, the theme is about adversity and how you overcome that adversity. And the Avs certainly dealt with a lot of adversity, and that kind of defined them throughout the regular season, and eventually was kind of what undid them with the injury adversity striking in the playoffs. And speaking of adversity and overcoming it, I don't know if any team has encapsulated it as well as the Nuggets did this year.
Yeah, so I think they're clearly the team of the year for a couple different reasons. 2 in particular. You mentioned the adversity. Just if you look at the Denver Nuggets' 55-year history, they've got 4 trips to the Western Conference Finals. As an NBA franchise, they did go to the ABA Finals back in 1976. But as an NBA franchise, they've made it as far as they have ever made it this past season. And they did it in the most incredible fashion possible, coming back from 3-1 not once but twice. And in one series, at least, against the Los Angeles Clippers, a series they were heavy underdogs in, not just before they got to being 3-1. I think if you would have asked people during the quarantine period who's the team of the year, who will be the team of the year, I think most people would have said the Avalanche, as they were expected to go further. They looked like the more promising contender. And maybe when it's all said, you could say they probably were the biggest contender. They ended up getting tripped up, but Denver, I think, still probably had a long ways to go to winning a title even last year. But the fact that they were able to do it in the fashion that they were, the way that they rose, and Jamal Murray went from being a good prospect to a star caliber and onto that, main stage, I think is key. But then also just for, the NBA kind of took center stage with in terms of sports with regards to the social justice movement. And I think the Denver Nuggets and Jamal Murray, and earlier we talked about his incredible post-game comments, one of the quotes of the year, talking about that very issue. I just think when you bring it all together, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what are people going to remember most about Denver sports in 2020? I think it's going to be this incredible Denver Nuggets run that they had.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly there at the end. I mean, what will you remember? We all talked about it in the moment. It was one of the most memorable Denver sports runs of any of our lifetimes. And so to me, and I think that it's just about anyone, they are the rightful winners here.
I would definitely say that they're team of the year. I mean, it's not fair, but when you look at expectations and you look at franchise's history, like the Nuggets get brownie points. They get extra points for going to the conference finals. They also play in a rigged league where they are constantly fighting an uphill battle that they can't do anything about. The Avs don't have to deal with that. The Avs are on an even playing field. They don't play in a player dominated league where players don't want to be there. And the Avs have no trouble convincing superstar talent to stay in Denver for long periods of time. The Nuggets couldn't keep Jeremy Grant around. It's tough. And so you can't discount. I'm not trying to, dunk on the Nuggets. It's just that you can't discount the fact that Western Conference Finals trips as a Nuggets fan, we don't know when the next one of those is going to be. You don't know. You can't take those for granted. You can't look. The Avs are going to make the playoffs for the next decade, and what will be will be. You certainly expect that they're going to get to a conference finals at least once, given the talent that they have on hand. But they didn't get it done last year. Injuries, whatever. They just didn't get it done. And there were only two good teams in town last year. One of them got one round further. I think the Avs were team of the year last year because they did more with less, and this year did less with more. Yeah. So I think it's going to be fun to watch as the two main occupants of Ball Arena go back and forth over the next few years as the primetime teams in town. But for this one, I think it's clearly the Nuggets.
Yeah, Spence, what do you think?
So, yeah, I think basically kind of what AJ said is this is based off expectations, and these two teams have somewhat similar expectations, and now they're both expected to make the playoffs every year, and then they're both expected to make a run at it. But I think what does set the Nuggets apart in this is that now it's unfortunate that the Avs had the injuries they had, because the team that played the last game against Dallas last year is not the team I had in mind and fielded to go to the Stanley Cup. But I think the Nuggets taking another step, and whereas it felt at the end, losing to the Lakers never is fun, whether it's regular season, preseason, postseason, whatever. But they took another step to where you had some hope for the next year, and you felt like they came together as a team in the bubble and, overcame some unreal adversity, down 3-1 twice. We all know the story. But I think them just taking another step, whereas the Avs kind of leveled out. Now, it's not necessarily fair to say that based on the last year because of the injuries, but I think you have to take the teams for what they were at the end of the year. And I think the Nuggets fully taking that next step and making, that's 3 years in a row with an extra step, more wins in the regular season, and another step in the playoffs. So I think they have my vote for team of the year.
Dre?
I think all that's been said so far definitely gives the Nuggets the edge. To me, they were just more of a team. They had to come together in the bubble. We had some great moments of Jamal with Jokic and Dad picking everyone's spirits up when the Clipper was trying to punk them. They really had to come together as a team and show some fortitude in that. So just in the true sense of the term, I think they are the team of the year.
There wasn't a single win. Just to kind of piggyback on that, Andre, there wasn't a single win in the 14-game run in the first and second round that wasn't in doubt at some point. Every game, Denver came from behind during that run. It wasn't just a 3-1 series run. It was they trailed in every game to win the series, which makes it a little more cool.
Yeah. If you were going to play devil's advocate, couldn't you argue the fact that they were down 3-1 in each series? They put themselves in those positions, and also, Mike Conley makes that three, Are they no longer team of the year one shot? Can you be
Sure,
team of the year?
Absolutely. But guess what? That's sports. That's why we like sports. We don't talk about what could have happened or should have happened. We just talk about what did happen. And sometimes what did happen isn't fair. It's not, there's a lot of people that, and this is true in many sports, where you say, yeah, they won, but they weren't the best team that year. And like, okay, but guess what? The champion, we only talk about what did happen. That's the only thing that really matters.
Play the full 48 at this level.
The Avs have a 1-goal lead with 4 minutes left in game 7. If you can't close that out, you don't get to be team of the year.
I almost forgot that was the case.
I had forgotten about the end of that game too.
If you were trying to push it though, the Colorado's dominance. I mean, in the round robin, they go 2-0-1, and then they absolutely housed Arizona. They finished that series with back-to-back Brazils, beating them 14-2 across those 2 games. We run out of goal shots at the bar. Like the Avs had a level of dominance that the Nuggets didn't come within 10,000 miles of in an actual playoff series. Granted, Arizona probably shouldn't have been there, but again, like you said, that's sports. They can only play the teams in front of them. They got Arizona, and they absolutely just annihilated the Coyotes.
Yeah,
those games were not close.
And if you look at so many great moments in sports, they are created by their team, by a team putting themselves in that situation. There's no Rocktober if the Rockies don't underachieve for a lot of that season, and then finally find a switch late in the season. There's no Tebow mania if Tebow is as good in the fourth quarter as he is in the first 3 quarters as he is in the fourth quarter. So a lot of times it is about, a team finally realizing their potential when they need it most.
And there's something so Denver about the Nuggets team that never really gets over the hump, getting over the hump twice in the most incredible fashion, just, through resiliency, not through dominance. It would be weird if the Nuggets were a dominant team that won. I don't even know what I would do with myself. The fact that it's more fitting in many ways that they were underdogs and that they had to struggle as much as any team can possibly struggle to get where they got.
Yep.
And then to see them lose to the Lakers was like, it's still the Nuggets.
Right. I remember this.
In the NBA.
Yeah.
But all right, let's see if the Nuggets were able to pull this one out.
And the award goes to your Denver Nuggets. The spirit that team showed, Michael Malone, that group, how they all came together during the bubble. I think that's the right thing. That's the team of 2020.